Hello,
Domo
everyone, and
minasan!
welcome to the Social Discharge podcast. I am your host, Tamika likes to draw, and joining me today is Myka. Introduce yourself.
Um, you know, it's me.
And Kiko.
Hello, everyone. It's Kiko Man 589, otherwise known as Kiko. Glad to be
Mm-hmm.
on once again.
Yep. And today's topic is the best game ever. We all play games here. I'm sure we all have a game that we consider the best game ever or our favorite if you're like me, where you actually make a distinguish between the two or whatever. But I guess we'll start the podcast by asking what makes a game the best game ever to you?
It just has to be called Crazy Bus, because Crazy Bus is the best game ever, clearly.
I think. Okay, this might be a hot take. Like, I'm really laying it a hot take so early on, but I think the best game ever has to be fun. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
What?
well, I'm gonna start this off by saying that it is not Undertale, and I really wish people would stop saying that.
Fuck, I was
Okay.
actually about to lead with that.
So,
But Tamika, Undertale won the Game FAQ's best game ever contest in 2015. Doesn't that make it the
Well,
best game ever?
wait, 2015? When did Undertale come out? What?
Yeah, 2015. 2015.
Yeah.
Came out in 2015.
Because I'm gonna be
Came out in
completely honest.
2015.
I must have not. That must have been the point in time in which I wasn't spending my entire life on the internet, because I didn't hear about Undertale until I was in college. So,
Yeah, it came out early, and it beat it beat the greats, Melee, Ocarina of Time,
Final
Metal
Fantasy
Gear
World, I
Solid.
think.
VII.
Well, I think Final 7, whatever. I don't remember the exact details, but everyone thought it was the best game ever at that
I
certain
just
point.
remember. I just remember hearing them talk about it on the PCP and how it beat like all these cult classics or whatever, and I was just like, "Huh, that's interesting." Because I feel like that only happened because it had just recently come out.
Because
So,
of the
Undertale
zeitgeist.
yeah,
is
yeah,
pretty fun.
yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't played it, so my criticism or whatever is unfair, and I'm just shitting on it because I like shitting on things that are popular.
But
Yeah,
okay,
base.
Myka, what is fun?
Okay, fun is when you get those dopamine receptors whenever when you accomplish a task in the game.
Mm.
It's like what
You know,
gives you that dopamine rush?
for me,
And that's the premise of a game.
for me, what makes a game good or the best game ever is when the gameplay is good, obviously, and when the story is also good. That being said, obviously, not all games have like a super complex story. A lot of them are very simple, and I don't mind that, uh, to be honest, but it still has to be entertaining, and the cutscenes also have to be interesting to watch. Like they have to be more than just a breather between gameplay. It has to be something that's actually engaging, to some extent. Uh, I don't know what you guys think about that. Do you guys care about the story in your games, or are you just fully gameplay
Dude.
focused?
Like your favorite gaming franchise is Sonic. Are you really the right one to talk about story?
Dude, see, people say that, but then when you look at games like Sonic Adventure 1, Adventure
Garbage
2,
Garbage story.
Adventure 1, Adventure 2, well, Shadow tried to have a deep and complex story, but then its intentions were obviously very misguided by trying to appeal to a very particular part of the fan base that they just shouldn't have done. Unleashed had a good story. Actually, as far as storytelling, one of the things that genuinely surprised me was when I found out that the two lead writers of Sonic 06 were like the the people who wrote Unleashed and Adventure 2, and it seriously shocked it seriously shocked me because Adventure 2 and Unleashed, along with Black Knight, generally are considered to be the best written games. So when I found out that the best writers on the franchise wrote the shittiest story, I was kind of like, okay.
But why
that's
even?
interesting.
But I have to pose the question: why are we even talking about story in a video game? If we're talking about the best game ever. The gameplay actually.
Because the story
You
can
know.
sometimes make it more interesting to play, I guess. Like
Okay, how about this?
chances are I probably wouldn't have played Kingdom Hearts if I didn't know about its story first because it appealed to my I like needlessly complicated anime stories even though they frustrate me when I think about them for like even 10 seconds. You know?
Okay, but how about this? Yeah, how about this? Like, sure, a good story may or may not be important, but this is what I think. I think a good story for the best game ever has to be the kind that can really elevate the gameplay. One there where the gameplay and the story are interlinked in a way. You know?
Mm.
Like in Undertale.
Oh, da.
No,
The
stop,
Well,
stop, stop.
I would have to disagree with that statement because the game I consider my favorite game is Dragon Quest VIII, and
Doesn't Dragon Quest have good story?
yes, it has a good story, but it's not like the story and the gameplay are super like intertwined and really like
Mm.
elevate the medium of gaming to a whole new level and on that in that sort of sense.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
It's
I
my
think an
favorite game
interesting
because
oh, there you go, yeah. Sorry, I
it's my
interrupted you
favorite
there.
game because, and it is my favorite game, and that means it is the best game ever. It's my favorite game because it represents everything I like in a video game. And I can go through the reasons why in this document I wrote, in this text file I wrote like some years ago. And we can go through each of them in turn, discuss that in terms of best game ever.
Mm.
well, I'm sure we can go to that later, but like, okay, I like to bring up to my point. One of my favorite games. I don't want to say it's the best game yet because I want to save that for last. Is Fire Emblem Three Houses. You know, it's a popular JRPG from 2019. Oh my god, it's 2 years. I mean, it's a good game and everything, but wow, 2 years.
Mm.
Anyway,
But you said popular. It can't be the best game ever then.
Yeah,
wow.
because as we all know, what's popular is actually usually tends to be the most generic shit. So
Okay, well, disregarding
Can't
the
believe you
bullshit
polluted
arguments
this
aside,
podcast already.
like one of the like good functions in Fire Emblem Three Houses is the fact that hey, you teach your since you have students naturally you'll teach them, and because you teach them, it's part of the mechanic that they can learn basically anything. They'll have strengths and weaknesses, but hey, you're teaching them, and that's part of the story, and that's why I love how the story and the gameplay matches together.
I was thinking like in terms of mixing gameplay and story. I think Metal Gear Solid does it kind of okay. Uh
I mean, I've never played Metal Gear, but sure, explain.
like with Metal Gear Solid 1, you have the whole like the torture sequence, I guess. Like if you and it's really hard because you have to like button mash to survive. It's fucking annoying. I have
Or
never
use a
been able to beat
pen.
it without I haven't been able to beat it without using turbo. Uh
Bro.
that's so
Yeah, because I
well, I
used a
mean,
pen for that sequence, and the
except
controller
for
button, the
the
circle button, it wore out because I had to do that.
I did
Battle
use the
Scar.
pen. I did use the pen method in Peace Walker, but in Metal Gear Solid 1, I only used turbo. But in that game, like if you give up, you know, your ending is with Otacon and you get stealth camo. And if you survive the torture, you get the Meryl ending. Stuff like that. Or in Metal Gear Solid 2, where, the tanker chapter, you take all the photos, and the photos you take are actually like an integral part of the plot because they're used to frame Snake. Uh, stuff like that. Uh,
So you're saying a best game ever should respond to the player in some way?
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, that's what interactivity is, and the whole point of video games being video games is that they're interactive.
It's actually funny that we're getting into that because I've talked to some people, some Sonic fans, who there actually are gamers out there who value the story more than the gameplay, which confuses the shit out of me because I'm kind of just like, well, if you're that type of player, then why don't you just like watch the cutscenes online or some shit? Why even pay for the game? Or better yet, why even play games? Just watch movies. I don't know.
Well, playing the game increases your attachment to the characters and story. For
Yeah, man,
example,
it's like you can
I mean,
interact with the story.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I guess.
Gravity Rush 2,
But
like,
putting it above
I,
the gameplay
yeah,
though, I don't know about that.
I don't know.
Like I would definitely say gameplay is a priority. Like obviously I'm not saying the story should you shouldn't care about the story when making a game, but I would prefer the game is actually fun to play than it be shit and have a good story, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
I
so.
get that.
Like
Like,
the Telltale games. Haha.
no, because like, okay, I mean, I guess like the thing is, you can have a game without a story. Like, take for example, arcade games. What the fuck is the story to Tetris? I want to play Tetris story mode. What's up? What's going on
You
there?
saying Toho doesn't have a story? What are you talking about? Well, that's not an arcade game, but shoot 'em ups. Mushihime
Yeah,
Sama, Ketsui.
yeah,
Those
but I'm
have
saying that
stories.
like, I'm just saying
Hmm.
that even good games don't
All those
need a
alien
good story.
invasion games.
But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
can you make a good game with a good story but a shit game play?
Mm, I don't think so. I feel like if see that's like I I guess kind of Final Fantasy 13. I don't know. There are some people
No,
that
follow
actually
Square
like that
Enix's
game's
entire
story.
catalog. Square
They're
Enix's entire catalog is garbage gameplay, but like a palatable story.
Well,
Whoa.
it's not the
Whoa.
case with Final Fantasy 13 because Final Fantasy 13 actually has one of the best battle systems in the series, but the
What?
story is kind of mid.
What?
I want to fuck lightning. That's my only
Did
comment
we
there.
play the same
Also,
fucking
mid
game,
is a
dude?
bad word. Don't use it. I regret using that word.
Did we play the same game?
Yes, we did.
Wait, which 13 are we talking about here?
The
Well, there's
original
13,
PS3
13
game.
2, and Lightning Returns, so
The
there's three.
original 13. Uh, I'll have to respectfully disagree.
Difference in opinion. How can we name a best game ever then? Like what? Like
Whoa.
Uh,
unless
Both
it
of you
you know.
concede and just admit I'm the one that's probably right, even though I don't have a stake in Final Fantasy 13.
well,
But
to be honest, I
we can agree that Final
actually,
Fantasy 13 has amazing graphics, right?
yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
For the time, it
I-
definitely does.
Final
Heck,
Fantasy
I'd say
13
even
is
today,
beautiful.
it
It's a
ages
very good
well
looking
with a
game.
remaster.
Yeah, yeah.
Did it have the best graphics ever at the time it came out?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, what is it? When did it came out? Like 2010?
It came out in 2008.
Oh, then
Um,
fuck, that must have been amazing. Like,
yeah.
what could rival it in
It
2008?
came out in the same year as like Metal Gear Solid 4, which doesn't look quite as good, I don't think. I think
No,
No.
it came
I
out. It
think
came out. It came out in late 2009, which
Oh,
doesn't
right,
really
right.
change our impression because that's still amazing.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what happened in What other good games are in 2009? Is there a girl I want to fuck in that game?
Well, I mean, I guess Fang. I don't. Fang is all right.
Fang is the
Huh?
best character in that game, followed by
Oh,
Saz.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, to be honest, I
we can
say
agree on it having sort of the best graphics ever for the
and a good
time.
soundtrack
So
yeah.
and a good
and a good
soundtrack.
soundtrack though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to revisit it,
Actually,
but
the graphics. Do you think the best game ever has to have the bestest game graphics?
well,
No,
well,
no,
no,
no, I don't.
but Dragon Quest VIII is of course Dragon Quest the series. It's the character designs, the monster designs are designed by Akira Toriyama, who drew
Of
Dragon
course.
Ball. So for me that elevates it already above a lot of other things just
Mm.
from the style alone. So I'd say Dragon Quest VIII
I mean,
has great
Toriyama's
graphics.
art style is very unique. Um, very unique. You don't see much like it. I still think
Yeah.
Toriyama and the JoJo art style are probably the most unique art styles I've seen as far as
Perhaps,
manga and
yeah.
anime. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
But Final Fantasy 13 doesn't have the best graphics ever.
Mm. Well,
I
I
mean,
don't. It's interesting. It's because it's a very good looking game. Like the crystal section. I forget what it's called. But
I
there's
don't think you have
this.
to look at graphics from a technical standpoint. Just look at it from like an aesthetic standpoint. And yeah, sure, like technology could be the reason
Hmm,
why it doesn't look as good. But what I'm trying to say here, like, what has the best graphics, like aesthetic wise,
I
like
would
just pleasing to.
I would say well the thing is because it's in like low poly games at this point, it's almost like a style. Like you'll have people that intentionally make games with what some people would consider outdated graphics. Uh,
Wow, is low poly the new pixels?
like Undertale, I guess, with the 8-bit look. Uh,
Mm,
but I'm sure people would still call it a good looking game, I
of
guess.
course, of course.
it does
That's
look
why I
good
said
for
like
sure.
we shouldn't bring
Mm.
technical aspects to this.
Or
Because
you'll have like
But why shouldn't we? It technical aspects are the meat of the backbone of any game.
you'll have a game like Sonic Mania that's I would argue is better looking than Sonic Forces.
no, I don't think anyone's gonna argue with that. That's not a very hot take.
Yeah, yeah, true. Despite the fact that like Sonic Forces had like the latest version of the Hedgehog engine. But I've
I
seen
don't
some
like it looks
people
shit compared to Generations and Colors. It looks so fucking dog shit.
I actually think that Colors doesn't look that great, which might be because it's on the Wii, but then there's games like
Okay,
Mario Galaxy, so I don't know.
okay.
Oh yeah, Mario Galaxy, that is also
Colors
peak
might
Wii
look the
graphics.
least impressive out of the modern era if we compare it to like Unleash and Generations. But I say it has the best aesthetic in the worlds you explore. Like, come on, Tropical Resort, Planet
Hmm.
With, Sweet Mountain. Wait, is it Sweet Mountain or something else?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
sweet.
remember.
It's sweet. It's
Yeah,
Sweet Mountain.
Aquarium
Yeah.
Park. Like, come on, it literally has the best level designs.
It's kind of like a throwback to the classics without just straight up using the classics, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly.
Which is kind of the point of Colors, if you think about it. Like, the whole plot is basically like the classic games. You gotta save all these cute little
True.
creatures.
I can see why
Uh,
like Sega chose it as like the remake. Yeah,
mm,
fuck the
mm.
adventure games. Colors way better.
Well, like, interesting, because for like Sonic's model in Adventure 2, even though it's made in a game that's not as technically advanced as, you know, the most recent games, I would consider his Adventure 2 model the best looking one, like the coolest. And I've seen people try to make like higher poly versions of that model, and for some reason when people do that, it looks weird and I don't like it. So, you know,
Yeah,
there are times where adding more like graphical improvement actually makes it look worse. So
But Tamika, is a Sonic game your favorite game ever?
my favorite game is Sonic 2, despite the fact that I've never beaten it ever in my life.
You say you separate the favorite and best. So what's your best game ever?
My best, well, the funny thing is I tend not to think about best in terms of games in general, particularly Sonic only, because I'm so heavily invested in Sonic, even though I really don't want to be because of how disappointing it's gotten these days. Uh, the best Sonic game, at least the thing is, from a storytelling standpoint, I think it is definitely Sonic Unleashed. From a gameplay perspective, I'd probably give it to Generations begrudgingly.
yeah,
Uh,
no,
I
hard to
say,
agree on that.
be- I
Generations is the
say,
best.
I say begrudgingly because there was a time when I used to be good at the game, and then but then I haven't played it so long, and now I'm shit. And I'm wondering how I got S ranks in all the levels when I'm struggling to get S ranks now.
But
What do
like
you mean?
gun to your head,
Generations is
like Sonic
easy.
Unleashed or Generations, gun to your head. You have to pick one.
I would pick Unleashed. I don't know why. There's just
Okay,
something
so
about
you're not
Unleashed that I find
just
more.
so but you're not thinking about like weighting, gameplay, story, graphic, soundtrack. You're just like just a feeling, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would, I would pick. But
So this is all. Yeah.
the reason why I say Sonic 2 is my favorite game is just because it's the first Sonic game I've ever played. So, you know.
Your first doesn't have
uh,
to be your favorite. Like
Well, no, it's just whenever people ask me what's my favorite, the first thing I think of is Sonic 2. But eh, even though I've never beaten it in my life
Hmm.
ever.
And speaking of first, I mean, does it matter if a game does something first? Does that boost its credibility as best game ever, or does it matter more
I
what
I
games
don't think
follow
so.
did with it? Okay, why not?
I don't think so because I was thinking about this specifically in terms of comic books rather than games, but I kind of don't like it when people act like the first thing is the best one just because it did it first. Because if you think about it, the first one is almost always going to be the worst because people are going to know what to improve on afterwards, you know?
Yeah, but
But
what if
Like,
they never
that's
improve
not
on
doesn't
it?
reflect what actually happens though.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like I never really think much about it in terms of games, but in terms of like with comics, I'm just like, does anyone actually think for real that like Steve Ditko is the best artist to ever work on Spider-Man? Does anyone actually believe that, or do they just say that because he was the first one? You know?
But they changed the game. They changed the whole landscape. They influenced. Have so many influences. You drew a,
Mm.
shouldn't that matter?
Well, it matters to some degree, but it's like I don't know if I would call it the best. Like I I know we said not to go to Sonic all the time, but for example, with Sonic, haha, no one is actually going to say that Sonic 1 is the best classic game out of like Sonic 1, 2, and 3 because it's just not true. So the level
I
design
think
in
at
Sonic
least in
1
video games, like
the
it
level
will never
design
be
in
the
Sonic
perfect
1
game.
is ass because they clearly didn't figure out how to sort of design all the levels around speed yet. Like Green Hill is a good level because it's designed with that mentality in mind. But then you go to levels like Spring Yard Zone and it's like I don't know, this level feels like it shouldn't be in this game. It feels like it should probably be in another game. I mean, there's still moments that take advantage of the momentum-based physics of Sonic, but it just feels like it shouldn't be there. Oh, wait, actually, the best example would probably be Marble Zone. That does not feel like a level that should be in a Sonic game. It feels like a level that should be in a Mario game, right down to the aesthetics and everything.
Yeah, but like,
So yeah, so
like
there's sort of the less how do I put it? Harmony between all the different game aspects. So that zone like puts a crack in that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So like harmony is sort of a feeling we get from games.
Yeah. If it's like the first one, you can tell because not everything is like fully figured out yet because, it's the first one. So I wouldn't. But then, with that being said, obviously there are plenty of times where people manage to hit it out of the park, and the first one does actually end up being the best one.
no, but
Uh,
like with video games, at least, like, can you actually name of like any franchises where the first one was the best one?
no. Well,
Well,
I
as
guess
of right
Kingdom
now,
Hearts
I'd
1.
say
I guess
as of
Kingdom
right
Hearts
now,
1
I'd
in
say
terms
the
of its
first
plot.
Jack game is better than the other two, but I haven't beaten 2 and 3 ever, and I haven't played either of them in a while.
Mm.
So, but
See,
yeah,
I would say something like Kingdom Hearts 1 in terms of its story, but then the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 1
Is dated as
is
fuck.
holy shit.
what
Remember
it's
the
good,
Nothing
still
platforming
good.
segments?
nothing is more nightmarish to me. The first time I played Kingdom Hearts 1, what's it called? The jungle level. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
That
for
was not fun.
jumping.
That
The
was not
jumping
fun at
is
all.
like the jumping. Yeah, first came out. Yeah, but the rest of the gameplay is still good. It's still great.
Yeah, yeah. The platforming
Yeah, the
in
jumping.
Kingdom
Yeah,
Hearts is, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why in future games they make the platforming as automated as they possibly can.
And
I
not
mean,
only that, they just
In
put
Kingdom Hearts
Sora
2, they just
light.
didn't even try to have platforming segments at all. They just
true.
didn't, except for Cave of Remembrance. So, oh wait, what were you gonna say, Micah?
Yeah, except for like that's why like in later games he just has like the best mobility possible.
Mm, mm. Well, it's like I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3, but I watched Best Guy Ever's review of it, and he mentions how it's like automated. Sora automatically leaps across platforms now, in certain platforming segments rather than, actually pressing the jump button and carefully jumping from platform to platform to make it to the other side. Then there's flow motion and stuff like that. So you have
But
like
that
wall
removes
running mechanics and stuff like that. So it's like,
that removes interactivity between the game and the player.
you
Like for
know,
example, like this is why I prefer like the gameplay of like the first Jack game over any of the Uncharted games, because the
mm,
Uncharted in the climbing sections, like Drake kind of like he points to, like in a direction of like exactly where you need to like go when he's on the edge of a like when he's like climbing and he has to jump to another ledge. Like he stretches his arm out specifically, and I feel like I'm not like in control like exactly of my character. Like my interactivity with the game is just lessened because I have less control, and it's more like the game is controlling sort of me. But in Jack One, like everything is under like my control, exactly where I jump, how I move, if I roll or not, like all that stuff.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like, don't people say that Uncharted 4 is like the best game?
Yeah, but those are
I
normies,
think I think I
Myka.
think I think I think two is arguably better, but
Oh, I was gonna make a point earlier, but I forgot what it was. uh,
But yeah, like there really isn't a franchise where the first one is the best one. The Last of Us
no.
2, the second game's better than the first one.
Whoa, whoa,
yeah. But so that's
whoa,
the thing is that's only two games. Like the sample
whoa.
Oh
size is
yeah,
kind of pretty
yes.
low.
Well, the funny thing is, it's weird because when you think about something like Mega Man, right? If you ask like longtime Mega Man fans, what is the best Mega Man game? Well, if we're looking at just the classic series, right? There's 11 of them now, but
No
almost
one will say it's the first. No one will say it's
everyone
the first.
always says the second one.
Yeah,
But
And
why?
including me, by the way, including me. I will say
Okay,
the second
why?
Mega Man game is the best one.
Okay, why?
I used to believe Mega Man 2 was the best one just because everyone else said it was, but now I'm kind of
No,
just like,
I've
eh.
I've played up to like 7, I think, and I don't know why. Like, I can't name you all the power ups because fuck memories.
Yeah,
But the
but in
second
Mega
one
Man 2, all
definitely
the
felt like
power-ups
it had the
don't
most
matter because
variety.
the only one that matters is the fucking saw blade or whatever. Metal blade.
Yeah, the saw blade, the metal blade, broken as. Oh, actually, funny story. Like, if you don't mind me going on a tangent a bit, like when I first played Mega Man 2, I looked up the guide on it, and then there were like two routes. First is getting the metal blade first, and then there was another route that was like some shit else. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go with the second route. And then when I told everyone how my progress was doing, like, no, you're supposed to get the metal blade first. I'm like, oh,
I
damn.
mean,
And you appreciate that choice, right?
I played the
Yeah,
Metal Blade
it
route.
actually made the game even funner. The fact that I didn't choose Metal Blade first.
So it's like so freedom like is a factor.
Yeah,
Well, that's the whole point of Mega Man. I mean, there is a very specific order you can, like a recommended order you could go because they're all weak to each other, right?
yeah, but like
But
no,
the whole
like
point of the games
no
is
one
that
forces you.
you can start wherever you want and go whatever order you want. And to be honest, if you're the type of player who's playing Mega Buster only run, then it really doesn't matter who you pick first,
Oh,
because you're
is
gonna
Mega
be,
Buster only run a thing? God, that must be painful as shit.
yeah, that is a thing. It really won't matter who you take on first because it's not like you're gonna use the weaknesses anyway. So if you're
Yeah.
doing a Mega Buster only run, you can take that whatever way you want. So you actually do have quite a bit of freedom in those games. Kind of.
Mm,
I mean, you have games, the later games will sometimes only let you choose some of the robot masters. Like with the earliest ones, you get to pick whoever you want at any time.
yeah, but
But
that's
in some
because
of
in
the
the
later
later games,
games,
like more cinematic. Like I think it's because like they try to put a more of a story in it.
like in Mega Man 8 and Mega Man and Base, you have to pick between like four out of the eight.
Yeah, it's like
So,
4 and then another 4.
yeah. So, you know.
But yeah, it's because like they try to put more of a story. Like there's more cutscenes with Wily, Doctor Wily, and stuff.
Mm, mm.
Cinematic. What a cursed word.
Well, Mega Man 8 has like straight up actual anime, like animated cutscenes with interesting voice acting.
Interesting,
Oh,
indeed.
how could I let this happen? What's the purpose?
Wait, no,
Okay.
that's Mega Man X.
Oh,
Mega Man
4?
X. 4, I think so. Yeah, 4
Yeah.
sounds about right. There's no reason for me to get on. What am I fighting for?
Memorability, that's memorable, right? Shouldn't that be a factor of the best game ever? The best game ever is like, yeah,
ah,
I think of
definitely,
this game.
definitely.
I think of this
True,
game. So
true.
Mega X was the best game ever. We figured it out. We have figured it out.
It's actually
That's it.
funny
That's the
that
episode. Thank
It's
you for
actually
listening. It's
funny
such a
that you say
discharge.
that because with the X series in particular, it's so much worse than the classic series from what I heard because I basically hear that like the only X games worth playing are like the first three, and the third one isn't even that good compared to the first two, but it's tolerable compared to everything afterwards. As compared to, the classic Mega Man series where it's like, oh, the first two are the best, but the rest aren't terrible, except for maybe Mega Man and Bass, but that's ironically my favorite Mega Man game out of all of them. So, I'm just gonna sit in the corner over here like, don't mind me.
Actually, I just realized there is a franchise where I think the first game is better than all of them.
What is
What's
Do you
it?
know
that?
the Zero Escapes franchise?
Yes.
Like,
No.
see, I like the first Zero Escape series because like it's a very like contained story about like them being trapped in a ship and yada yada yada, like trying to get out and more plot revelations about the main girl and all that. But then I don't like the further like the second and third games like Virtue's Last Reward and Zero Time Dilemma because then now it's like some sort of terrorist organization plot. And I don't know, like I don't really care about that high of stakes of a story, especially when the story turns convoluted into space and time travel bullshit.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's disharmonious with like the escape room kind of thing.
That sounds like a lot of games. They start out good and then the narrative gets more and more
Yeah, like
complicated and you're just like, I don't want to be here
yeah,
anymore.
they usually at least have like great gameplay, or at least it still holds out by the second or third game. Like this, out of the three games, only the first one's worth playing.
Mm. That's
I don't,
that's a rare
yeah.
that's a rare occurrence. I don't hear that often.
So best game mode should have like consistent quality all throughout, like consistent and
Isn't
such.
that more of the best franchise ever? And if we're going by that, then Mario easily wins.
But just
Uh,
by extension of the
is
principle,
Mario more consistent than Pokemon? Well,
Yes.
actually,
Yeah, I'd say so. Just from the consensus, I'd say Mario's more consistent. Yeah.
I don't think like even Pokemon fans say that the last best gen was Gen 5. Like I'm not like the biggest Pokemon fan, but like
mm,
everyone says like,
mm.
oh, Black 2, White 2 is peak. X and Y besides having 3D graphics and stuff kind of sucks. Sun and Moon has an overrated story and
Oh, see,
Sword and
that's
Shield.
that's where Pokemon fans are wrong because X and Y shifting the graphical style of the games to 3D is why X and Y sucks. Gen 5 graphics are the best graphics, objectively.
Well, also about the other features and X and Y just sucking and all that. Look, I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. I've played like 3 or 4 of the games of each generation. I don't care that much, but like, Gen 7's like overrated story, and Gen 8, well, I think
I,
we all know about the controversy
I
with Gen.
I haven't played all like I've played Soul Silver, Black,
The good
and
ones.
I've played some of the Game Boy Advance games. Uh, Black is pretty good. Oh, I've played
Yeah,
Omega Ruby, which was fun. I enjoyed it more than Black simply because of how abusable the XP share is in that game. So,
like
you know,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, there are like dips in Pokemon. Like I remember like watching this video how a lot of Poke Boomers hated Gen 3. Like they think Gen 3 killed the franchise for them because they got rid of a lot of stuff that they love Gen 2. Like they got rid of rebattling trainers, they
I
got
hear
rid of
that
the day and night
Gen
cycle.
3 and Gen 4 are basically like up there among the least liked generations.
No, I know people like Gen 4 though, because like people say like, "Ooh, Pokemon Platinum, it's the best one," because like Sinnoh lore and shit. Like, dude, people got hyped as hell for the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl remake.
Yeah, I guess.
Would you
Oh,
say
yeah, I don't
that
know that much about
people's
Pokemon either.
appreciation or the opposite of that like changed over time with Pokemon? Because it does with Zelda for sure. But
That's like the Zelda cycle thing. I don't think that applies to every game franchise, but I just want to connect this back to Mario. There is no Mario game that's ever people consider a dip.
Mario Sunshine.
Okay, Mario Sunshine is basically it, and I also fucking hate Mario Sunshine. But like, if we're looking about the consensus here, everyone loves Mario Sunshine just fine. Like, people think Flood was
yeah,
such an original, cool
people like them.
mechanic.
Wait, really? Because I mean, I've seen some people say they like it, but I've seen mostly people shitting on it.
I mean, like, I fucking hate Flood. I think it's stupid, some water bullshit. But if we're going by like, consensus here, everyone kind of loves like Mario Sunshine, and that's why I got to say like Mario's probably the most consistent I can think of. Like, okay, do you know anyone who shits on the Galaxy games? No, other than some I don't know.
No,
It's too linear. Like that's
no.
just a dumbass excuse.
Wait,
And
are the
Mario
Galaxy
3D,
games linear? I thought they were pretty open.
yeah. Well, they have the space thing, but like
They're
it's
pretty
basically getting
open,
to
yeah.
from one checkpoint to another checkpoint.
Mm.
But yeah, you have freedom, like which stars to pursue. Eventually, like as the game opens up, and you only need
Yeah.
half the stars to beat the game and such. Like there is like, but that's
Oh, I think the
kind of
one
besides the point.
thing I've seen one thing where people don't like how unsatisfying it is to 100% the game, which is probably another thing that would make a game very good is actually making the challenging stuff, actually rewarding.
See, I don't actually care about 100%ing anything at all. Like, sure, I've 100%ed a lot of games like
mm.
Sonic, but I don't really care for it.
I tried to 100% Kingdom Hearts 1, and I haven't yet.
I
I
also
I
tried
have to find
because
all
I
the
couldn't
trinities.
do. I couldn't because I couldn't. I gave up doing the Hollow Bastion to Enter the World, Don't Die, Mission 3 or something like that in the gummy ship. So just like, yeah, I'll just won't
Wait,
Oh,
bother.
actually, never mind. I've 100%ed Celeste. All the like
I
Sonic games and Celeste. That's about it. That's all I've 100%.
What compelled you to 100% Celeste?
Well, I just like the level design a lot.
I
I
completely forgot that the gummy missions you have to play those to 100% the game. Fuck. Ah. Anyway, you were saying.
I still like the gummy
Yeah.
missions.
Like for Celeste, at least I just completed them because hey, I want to play more Celeste, and hey, if there's more levels, sure. Because like with platformers, I guess with platformers, it's not about like getting to the end of the story for me compared to a lot of like other genres. But for platformers, for me, it's like I want to play as much levels of this game as possible.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I play a game, when I beat it, I'm pretty ready to move on to the next one. Usually because at some point or another, because I'm so shit at video games, even if I did enjoy it for the most part, the game at some point or another has already pissed me off enough to be like, yeah, I'm ready to go to the next one.
Well, for me, it's just that like, see, my primary consumption is anime, and anime tend to be like 12 to 24 episodes. That's like what 6 to 12 hours of your time. What's that compared to a video game? 30 hours. Video games are 30 hours. I'm
Dude,
not that patient.
I'm thinking about how much I enjoyed Sonic Unleashed, and then I got to Eggman Land, the last level in the game. And I don't know what they were thinking when they designed that. I don't know why they made the level the way it is, but that level alone is enough for me to be like, I'm never playing this game from start to finish ever again. Like, I don't know how many games are like that, but Sonic Unleashed is definitely one of those games, because I just
And that's why
don't
every
want to do
game should
Eggman
be
Land again.
10 minutes or less. Because if games are 10 minutes or less, then there's less room to mess up, So it's more likely that you'll make a best game ever, Well,
Well, I
How about
mean,
that?
there actually the funny
But
thing is there are some
yeah,
games
length,
where
length
like
is tough. Length is a tough one.
yeah, that's true, that's true. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like with I don't know about other games, but with Sonic, that franchise definitely benefited from making their games shorter by cutting out cuz they obviously felt they needed to make their games longer, which is why they'd always add like the extra characters or why they'd add gimmicks like the werehog. And it's just like, yeah, but fans don't want that though. So then they made Colors, which is shorter and is generally considered to be a better game than Unleashed. Because, at one point Sega realized the game being super long doesn't matter that much. Uh, so, and it
Nah,
doesn't.
man, you gotta pay for your price. $60 price tag. I better expect 60 hours of content, baby.
And then you have games like Final Fantasy 13 where um Final Fantasy 13 feels really long. Like I get it is, an RPG and those tend to be long, but the reason why it feels like there's nothing wrong with a game being long, but that length shouldn't be felt, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
with Final
exactly.
Fantasy
It did feel a bit
13, you
long.
really feel it.
Like,
You really feel the length of that game
yeah, you
just
feel
because of
it.
how long some of the segments are and how repetitive it is because there isn't a variety of things you
I
can do
don't
in that game
say if
Yeah,
compared to other.
variety. Jack,
tedious.
this is what I love in games as well. Variety. Jack
Yeah.
1 is a great example of variety. Like, that's
Mm. Well, what are you gonna say, Micah?
Like, I think it's like it just becomes tedious. That's why it feels long. Because I don't want that fucking journalism excuse of, oh, video games are too long nowadays. You know that
Dude,
fucking journalism.
when people say that, because the meme with Final Fantasy 13 is it gets good 30 hours in, and I kind of agree that once you get to the open world segment, it is better, but you're not really doing stuff you haven't done before. It's all still just fighting enemies and,
I just think like games should be
yeah.
tedious. Like if it feels like a 200 hour game can feel like if it's not tedious. Like people play
mm,
Skyrim, play GTA 5, people play fucking garbage ass multiplayer games because it
yeah,
feels good
yeah.
every time.
Well, you'll have games like LA Noire is pretty short. It does have an open world. I don't know
Yeah, but it's
why,
just worth your
because
money because it's good.
it does have an open world. I don't know why it does, because in all honesty, there you can't really do anything in it. I guess you can collect stuff, but you know, that game doesn't try to be unnecessarily long because I mean, its primary focus is clearly to tell the story that it wants to tell. Uh, and I mean, part of it was the fact that the development of the game was just troubled, but there isn't like extra content you can play around with except for I guess the side missions and stuff, which are basically more or less the same as the main cases, just shorter. Uh, but like I don't mind playing that game. It's a very easy pick up and play kind of game, you know.
Hmm.
Even I mean I guess it gets a bit of criticism for how easy to read the characters can be sometimes, except I don't really find that a problem because sometimes the characters actually aren't that easy to read. But it doesn't feel unnecessarily long is basically the point that I'm getting at. It is a very easy pick up and play game. It's short, to the point. It doesn't feel like there's padding, I guess,
Yeah, like I think like
which many
the
games
best game
have.
ever doesn't need to be very long or very short. It just has to be like the perfect amount, like just
Mm.
enough
Yeah.
to get that good ass experience.
It shouldn't, like, when it comes to length, it shouldn't feel like something was put in there for the purpose of making the game longer, like
Yeah, like
alone.
everything that should be in the game should be there because it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of good games should definitely do that. Uh, I'm trying to think if there's any games because Final Fantasy 13 is the only one that kind of comes to mind when it comes to being like feeling lengthy. I was gonna say
Actually,
Borderlands 2, but then a lot of the stuff in that game you can just skip if you want.
actually,
Like,
I just realized that means no RPGs can be the best game ever because they require grind.
Okay, what
Unless
do you
you
mean
oh
by
play
yeah,
any
grind
that's true.
though? Like in Dragon Quest VIII, like you only need to like go in circles in like the first area, but then like after that you can just explore normal pace and just fight enemies and you'll get through the game just fine. So I don't know what
Hmm.
do you mean by that? Like
Well, grinding some
it's
games
like
like
when you're
playing through
under
the main
leveled against the
story.
boss, and then like, oh fuck, I'm under leveled against the boss. Oh well, time to grind some more. And to me, that's just filler. That's why just sometimes I just play JRPGs on the easiest difficulty because fuck, that's not me being I want a tough experience. No, that's just me wanting to get through this.
With
but you
some
don't
with
but you don't
some
need
with some of the
to.
games, it's like they're designed in a way where just playing through the story, you will not like enough to make things easy if you don't level up, but like close enough where beating the game won't be difficult without going out of your way to grind.
I think if you play any Persona game on normal, it pretty much gives you that experience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
But
basically
Though
how I played Final Fantasy VII so far. And I've only just now started to encounter something that's actually giving me trouble at the
where are you
Temple of
at?
the Ancients.
Okay, because I've gotten a bit of trouble a bit early on, a bit earlier than that. But yeah, I've just been like I've just been going things at my own pace. You know, if I'm on a world map, you know, I try to go explore, but I'm not like I've never grinded ever. I just gone through
Mm,
him how I've been, and yeah, like the level of challenges is appropriate. Like you don't have to um like grind to get to the correct level, but then
mm.
you could say like yeah, like but in fights like there's always an element of luck. So if you get really lucky, then
I mean,
it won't
I
be
did
necessary. But
level up like a bit, but not enough that I think it would make that much of a significance from my current like point in the game, which is probably why I'm still getting curb stomped by this boss at the Temple of the
the
Ancients,
demon war,
which
yeah.
which I believe is an optional boss. I don't even have to fight it, but uh, I think it is. I can't remember, but
I don't remember either.
mm. What else makes a game the best game ever?
It has its own style.
Oh
For
that
yeah,
aesthetic,
example,
that
yeah,
Persona
and
5
it
aesthetic.
has its own.
I was
It
gonna
possesses
say
its
Persona
own that
5.
stands up. You
Yeah,
know,
I was gonna say Persona
holds.
5. Mm,
I was thinking of Gravity Rush and Gravity Rush 2. That's very distinct. It really radiates,
Mm.
and like that's like the best like aesthetic that I've experienced. Like I'd say that is best
mm.
aesthetic ever, or Dragon Quest 8 because it is.
Honestly, if someone wants to say Persona 5 is the best aesthetic in a video game ever, I find it hard to disagree.
It does have a good aesthetic. I a while ago had I got this app that makes it so that your text messages look like the text in the game.
Yeah, I used to have that as
That's
well.
cool.
I used to have that.
Yeah, which is
But
pretty
but
cool.
but what if a game has like the best story ever, best aesthetic ever, best soundtrack ever, but then another game has all the other bests in categories? You know, what like which one is the best game ever then?
The one that has the most all-around package.
What does
Yeah.
that mean? Well, like
You
I
know,
touched
like
on, I don't know if you have any more thoughts on this concept.
the one that basically that fulfills like most of the criteria of what you want from a video game.
Mm, mm.
Like I said, represents my taste.
Hmm.
Because
I
we could go
think
into like subjectivity versus objectivity, but that's another topic. But
yeah, that's another topic. I think uh you know, it's interesting because I think there definitely is a way you can discern when a game is like better crafted, you could say. Uh
Minecraft
but
is one of the best games of all time.
better crafted. But the funny thing is, despite like say a game like Generations clearly being better just by cutting out needless stuff that's added for the sake of length, like the werehog. I don't know. For some reason, I still stand by the opinion that Unleashed is probably the best game. That
That's
Oh
for
yeah,
story
oh,
really.
yeah. Oh yeah. For the record, I did play Unleashed around the time it came out, and I did not finish it because of these werehog levels.
yeah, because
Man.
they're
Yeah,
absolute
I think that's the
garbage.
experience for a lot of people. That's how it is for a lot of people.
Or I was just a kid and I was impatient back then because nowadays I beat games. The ratio of games I complete seems to be higher. But yeah,
It's
that's what
actually
I
the
remember from
opposite for
Unleashed.
me. It's actually the opposite for me. Like I have I mean, recently I beat the rest of the Metal Gear series because up until recently, the only games I'd beaten were MGS1 and MGS3. But outside of that, like, I find it so hard to actually try and beat a game these days. Uh, I don't know
Yeah,
why.
same.
It's
Like
just
you
like,
just like I think as a kid you have more patience because you have all the time in the world. Whereas now that you're an adult, you realize time's finite.
mm, mm, probably,
So
yeah.
best game ever, but I mean, it depends who you are, like how old you are, right? It's best game ever for kids, best game ever for teenagers. What do you think about that?
Okay,
What,
when I
like
was a
age
kid, the best game
demographics?
ever was SpongeBob Lights Camera Pants.
Based
When I was a kid, the best game ever was Sonic Rush Adventure on the Nintendo DS.
for me,
I really love that game.
it was like Minecraft slash World of Warcraft, but then in when I was in high school, I was like, wait a second, let me think about what I think about what the best game ever is. I'm sure it was inspired by me listening to that PCP episode, and I was like,
Mm.
actually, when I realized it in retrospect, Dragon Quest VIII is my favorite game ever. But who knows now?
It's
Maybe if
just
I
it's
play it now, I'll be like, wait, actually, maybe Final Fantasy VIII is the best game ever because Final Fantasy VIII, that is also a great game.
it's it's interesting because when I was in school, when it came to games, I always had like the opposite taste of everyone in my class. Um, and I always felt kind of bad because they'd be into games like Call of Duty and FIFA and Grand Theft Auto. And I was like, oh man, I wish I was into these games, but I'm over here playing Sonic and Pokemon and these games intended for children, even though I was a literal child and I was actually playing the games made for my audience,
This is a
for the
story
audience I was
of
in.
this is a story of like millions of kids around the world. I'm sure.
Except for like I just find it kind of weird when I think about it how my classmates used to make fun of me for playing games that are for kids when we were kids, you know? It's just
Because
Yeah.
interesting.
everyone has that older brother that gave them the cool games and all that, and they got into that.
Yeah, yeah.
Good thing my
But
mom
now
was pretty strict
nowadays
on
I
these
kind of
age
just
rating
look
things because that means I didn't play those games and I kept playing the games that I like and still like.
nowadays I just look at those kinds of games as like because they are. Like, there's so many well, maybe not like GTA, but there's so many games like Call of Duty or and like FIFA that I don't know, they have nothing that sort of has them stand out in any significant way. So, even though I felt bad for not being into those games when I was younger, now I sort of have a weird sense of superiority
You don't
where I'm
think
just
they
like,
possess their own style, their own identity, their own strong identity that's communicated to you? Because that is like
I
I
don't
say
think
that because
so.
that's the feeling I got from like Gravity Rush 2. I was like, damn, this game has like
Mm.
its identity really comes across, and this quality, like for the best game ever, like this has to really like show.
I don't. The thing is, with a game like, I suppose you could kind of get it from Call of Duty, maybe, even though there's so many games like it. But with something like FIFA, it's just like it's just football.
Yeah, but
You
FIFA is
know?
actually fun. Like
Well, it's
I
not
like
just
being able to
football.
play soccer and
But there's
but
other
in
games.
game.
There's other games made by other companies, like what's it called? Madden, I think. Like
Yeah,
the
that
two
was
of them are
fun as well.
indistinguishable from one another. There's nothing. There's nothing. So wait, am I still here?
Like
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yes.
like
It got weirdly
like
quiet all of
one
a
of my
sudden.
favorite games is Sudoku, but like the video game version of it.
Wait a
Like
second. Why we said best game ever? We didn't say best video game ever.
like true. So I guess
The
the best.
best
True.
game, the
The
best
best
game
game ever
ever
is
is
Connect Four.
Tag. It's
Dragon Quest 8
Tag.
version. Tag. Okay,
I mean,
tag.
I
Mm,
want
Has
to
a lot of
show Yu-Gi-Oh
strategy, its
right
own
now.
identity.
I
mm.
want to show Yu-Gi-Oh so fucking hard right now.
I've
Okay,
never
go
actually
go
played
ahead.
trading card
Go ahead.
games.
All right, so yeah, it's an expensive fucking hobby, but like if you have that connection to the anime, the monsters is just so iconic, man. Like I love how in modern Yu-Gi-Oh especially is that they have these like archetypes. So like, hey, you like these bunch of monsters? Well, you can use them as part of your thing. And I just love the strategy
You can
between
feel like an anime
combos and all
character.
that. Yeah, it makes you feel
Games
like
make you feel, yeah. The feeling, the emotion.
The heart of the
Makes you
cards.
cry.
Anyways, if we're going beyond just video games, like another one I love, Risk. One of my favorite board games ever.
I've strangely never played Risk.
Seriously. Oh,
Yeah,
so
even my mom has played Risk, and she's like, "You never played Risk?" I'm like, "No."
I am a pretty big fan of Go Fish. That's
if
not a
we
board
talk
game, that's a
like
card game.
card games, like just normal card games, I'm more of a fan of bullshit.
Wait, what is that thing?
Yeah, it
Okay,
is. It
so
is.
how bullshit works is that you put like a card face down, and then someone else puts another card face down that's like either one number higher or one number the same or one number lower. And if you want to doubt the person, you call bullshit. And if you're right, that person picks up the cards. But if you're wrong, you pick up the cards.
Ah, okay. I haven't
So,
actually heard of that one.
so
Is there
why?
a is there
Yeah.
a title for the good Christian families out there? Is
I guess people say doubt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, what are you gonna say,
But
Kiko?
wait, but wait a second. We said best game ever. So there's video games. There's like card games and such. But best, games like Hunt ever. Which animal would that be?
Best
Uh, I have no idea because I have never
I
gone
tried Pyramid
hunting.
before. That was a good game.
So pro based fishing is
Oh wait,
best
actually,
fishing. Pro
I
based
have
fishing is the
been
best video game
fishing
ever.
before, but
It
that
com-
is
it
that is
combines
something.
what's something that combines all different types of game together. That's the best game ever, right?
Okay, so it has to be a video game about
The
like a
best
board game
game
with
ever is
cards. It
obviously
has
the
to have
best.
a fish theme.
The best game ever is obviously the game of life. The graphics are
Life is just a shitty
so
game.
the graphics
Life
are
is
so realistic, dude. And
Wow.
like the NPCs, they're so human. Like when you interact with them, it's fucking amazing. Like it's almost like they're real people or something. Like
yes,
it's
but
so realistic.
they're just NPCs.
Like damn. Like I have this mom NPC in my
What?
game
Oh
and
my
it's
god!
almost like bro, the relationship is so authentic. It's like damn.
Authentic. Mm.
It's like so
Authenticity.
real.
Bro, you
So
should go for the like. You should focus more on the clans, like who this like Democrat versus Republican clans. Very
but what do you mean by authentic though? Like what's authenticity? Does that matter
it
for best
feels
game ever?
it feels so real. Well, I mean, how much like when it comes to video games, how much does one actually care about believability? I suppose.
I think
I mean, that's
believability and realism only matters to how interactive something is.
Mm. Well, like for me, believability isn't steeped in how realistic something is. It's just like within the context of the universe the game takes place in. Can I actually believe that that is happening? Uh, you know, it's with writing as well.
why don't you just use a Phoenix Down?
Well, because Phoenix Downs are for people that are unconscious, not people that are dead.
Exactly. Good answer. Because people miss that, yeah.
Are there actually people that unironically say that?
I don't know anymore, but then again, I haven't come across this
I remember when I was watching
phrase in
the
a while.
original Final Fantasy VII Abridged, not the Team 4-star one, but this old one done by
Why is it
Cloud
original
Strife
then?
48.
Yeah, but why is it
Um,
original?
well, because it came first. I don't know. And you know, when Aerith dies, they just
Wow,
have.
spoil! I can't believe you did this.
Whoa, spoilers, dude!
Holy moly!
Well, it was already.
Oh,
It was
Next, you're gonna
spoiled.
say next.
It was spoiled when the game came out. Like everyone knew it was gonna
actually,
fucking happen.
Wow.
can I tell you like a bit of a tangent of a story about
Tamika is
how Earth
cancelled.
died? Because like when I was in my club, like my Discord university anime club and all that, everyone was getting hyped to get Final Fantasy VII and all that because
What, the remake?
yeah, the remake. And I just told them like, dude, oh yeah, I can't wait to see like Aerith dies in 4K. And like one of my friend actually got mad at me, like, dude, how could you say that? That's a huge
What?
spoiler.
What the
And like
fuck?
he actually had a go at me. Like I think I can
How?
find the chat
Wow.
in my Discord server.
How? I don't understand because, like, if
Well,
you've
well,
been on the internet for any amount of time, there's no way you don't know that Aerith dies.
well.
Like,
No,
Now
what?
like
the well
he
now we know
actually
what
had a
the
go.
remake is going. We don't know if that will actually be the case
Aerith,
in
Aerith is
remake.
not gonna die. She's not gonna die. It's not happening.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm saying it right now on. You're hearing it right here on Social Discharge episode. Fucking hell, episode 4. Wait, this is episode 4, right?
3. This is episode 3.
3. Episode 3. Aerith is not gonna fucking die. She's gonna live, and everyone is gonna be like, "Oh my god, this is so disrespectful to Sakaguchi's mom." Was it Sakaguchi?
Thing is,
I don't
I'm
remember.
kind of conflicted because one, sure, it kind of like it ruins like the whole point of like Final Fantasy VII story, but two, like the original game exists. Like, what's the point of just retreading it? Like, I think they already made the case
Oh,
in the ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake that they're trying to deviate itself from the original storyline.
I think. Well, I mean, Nomura already said in like an interview, like you guys are gonna see the true meaning of the word remake. So it's obviously not gonna be a remake in the way that most people wanted it to be. I think.
Yeah, in the
Which
future,
is
and in the
interesting.
future, like I think people will claim that like Final Fantasy VII Remake is the best game ever once it's finished. You know, just like
Uh,
Metal Gear Solid 2. You know, people like all that stuff with Raiden. Like when it came out,
People hated it,
people
yeah.
said like, oh, people hate it, but now people like some people say it is the best game ever made.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's worth remembering that the only reason why people like Metal Gear Solid 2 now is because what the intent of Metal Gear Solid 2 was is explained to them via forums and YouTube videos. Like
Oh, so how Evangelion become accepted, right?
I feel
And it
like
became and became more relevant over time.
all of these gamers are plebes, and they would still dislike the game if way smarter people hadn't actually explained to them why the game is good.
That's
So,
like the anime community in a nutshell, honestly.
yeah. So,
But it's sort of but that it kind of like became best game ever like later then. So like how can we claim a best game ever now if in 10 years it's gonna change? It's ever like of all time.
Well,
that is
people
true.
love
That is
Sonic
true.
3 and Knuckles. People loved it back when it started. People love it right now.
Well,
I know people this
people
one.
do actually consider like Sonic 3 and Knuckles to be the best classic game. That has never changed,
I haven't seen anyone call it like the best game ever though.
even with Mania coming out. I don't think anyone ever like best game ever. No one can say that statement like unironically, right? That would be a
Okay, well,
very
like it's some garbage, like probably Ocarina of Time. By the way, just saying Ocarina of Time is hard overrated. But like, yeah.
like. Can you imagine if someone like unironically tried to say that Superman 64 is the best game ever?
Well, it depends on the reasons, you know. But you say Superman 64, how could someone say that game is best game ever? Because culturally it's bad, you know. But culturally something good can be bad
I
and
have
vice
no
versa.
idea. Well, the problem is
Maybe
it's not
because
even
the
just
race
like culturally. If you look at the game, if you play it, like I would actually be surprised if anyone actually enjoys that game like at all. But then, there are people with various tastes, in the world. I'm sure there probably are people that enjoy fucking Atari's ET, despite it being considered the worst Atari game because of AVGN.
All right, so
Or
I
in other
literally just
words,
looked up
it's also
the
considered
video
the
game,
worst game ever.
like the best video games of all time. So it follows GTA 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Minecraft, The Last of
This
Us,
sounds too Zoomerish. This sounds too
The,
Zoomerish.
the Elder Scrolls 5, Half-Life 2, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time,
You know,
Resident Evil 4, Super Mario 64, and Portal 2.
it's
What
actually
list is this?
amazing. It's actually amazing because I have heard, like, I never thought in my life I would ever see this, but I have actually gotten into debates with people on Twitter who unironically think that, like, the standard that the Sonic franchise should go for should be what '06 did. And I'm just like, how? You know?
Well, those
Well, it's
people are
hard to
sure.
tone that because Sonic 06 is a buggy mess. But
I'm just
what if it wasn't? You know.
in what stretch of the imagination? Well, if Sonic '06 wasn't buggy, it actually would be a good game, gameplay wise, but story wise, because we're talking about the story, because there's like this subset of the fandom where people don't like the new sort of comedic direction the games have gone, which I partially agree with. But when I see people like, yeah, the game should be more like Sonic '06, I'm just like, what? No, look, I want more
But Tamika,
serious.
Shadow says that epic line at the end of his story. Like, if the world's against me, then I will fight it. That's epic as hell, isn't it?
Well, Shadow's story is actually considered to be the best in that game.
Well,
But
yeah,
Well,
it's the
Shadow
most coherent
is the
one.
best character, so of course.
I'm just like, Sonic is a story that's not incapable. Is a series that's not incapable of having more serious stories. I just don't think Sonic '06 is the way to go because Sonic is meant to be
I
the
just don't
series
think.
that's meant to be all cool and stylized. And Sonic '06, the direction that they took it in was so hilariously generic, and it felt like it belonged more in a Final Fantasy game rather than Sonic. You know, you got this orchestral cutscene music rather than, sort of like the cool rock type music. You got this too over realistic setting that they weren't even really capable of doing because it like graphically it just doesn't look that good. The hub world in particular, the levels look fine. Uh the cutscene direction is also pretty boring. Most of the time, it's just characters standing around, and the models are not expressive at all. They're kind of like puppets. I don't want to get into the actual plot because I've been thinking about the plot of '06 lately, and like it is so badly written, even thematically, not even just technically, but even thematically, that I honestly don't get how anyone can look at that game's story and be like, yeah, this is good, and all Sonic should be like this. Like, I'm obviously knowing the person who I was debating it with. It's obvious that the reason why they like '06's story more than like the others is just because it's more serious. I mean, this guy is also the same kind of person who wants Sonic to actually be more adult and even have like
Wait,
straight
was
up
that the dude
actual
that
sex
that
scenes.
responded to my comment? and all that.
No, no,
It
no,
was like
no,
super
no.
fresh. Oh.
It wasn't that guy. It was someone else. The guy that I'm talking about is actually very infamous within the Sonic fandom at this point. His name is Alice. If anyone's watching, like if any Sonic fans are watching this, you probably know who I'm talking about. Uh,
I
and
assume only Sonic fans are going to be watching this.
he wants the series to be so adult to the point where he wants it to have like actual sex scenes and shit. And I'm kind of just like, okay, well, I can see that what this guy wants out of the series is very misguided.
Furry.
So, you know. Anyway, I got sidetracked a little bit. Best
But
game ever.
best game ever has to have. You talked about orchestral scores. The best game ever has to have a good soundtrack.
It
Like
does.
It
Undertale.
has to. Yeah,
And
Undertale does
I'm
have a
not
good
even saying
soundtrack. Like Dragon Quest 8.
orchestral is bad. I'm not even saying it's bad because like specifically within Sonic, I'm not saying it's bad because Sonic has plenty of amazing orchestral soundtracks. Like the final boss theme that plays when you fight Dark Gaia in Unleashed, fantastic. But
But
yeah.
yeah, good soundtrack,
Yeah, but
necessity.
is that like
Otherwise, I
that
can't call it best game ever.
Megalovania?
No, from hearing it too much, it's now become the worst song ever. The worst
Okay, I
game
was hoping
theme
The
for
ever.
worst
you.
song
Hopefully
ever.
still good.
From hearing it too much.
Can't believe you said this.
You know, it's kind of like how, like, you know, within the server, we're currently watching Utena, and I really like Utena's soundtrack, but now I can't bear it just because of the fact that I'm marathoning the show right now. So,
Well, Zetai Unmei Moku
no,
Shiroku
no,
Zetai Unmei Moku Shiroku.
stop. That song is actually stuck in my head. When I'm like
Yeah, it's a
lying in my
banger.
bed
It should
trying
be.
to sleep, I'm trying to sleep, and suddenly I'm just at the staircase with Utana, and I'm just like, no, I want to sleep, please, for the love of God. But yeah,
Yeah,
good
uh,
soundtrack.
yeah.
Those
World of
definitely.
Warcraft is a good soundtrack. Minecraft is a good soundtrack. Final Fantasy 8. Basically, all the games I like have a good soundtrack. Deus
Final
Ex.
Fantasy
I could
VII
go
has a
on.
good soundtrack.
Yes.
Every Sonic game has a good
Okay,
soundtrack, even if
actually,
it's a
here's
really
a
bad
question.
one.
So, like, is there a really great game but a dog shit soundtrack?
I can't think of any.
I don't know. Well, okay. Yeah, well, Sonic 06, yeah. Sonic 06 is
No,
an amazing soundtrack. Like, what?
no, I'm
Sonic
saying
06 is an
like,
amazing soundtrack, and it's a
no,
dog
like
shit
I'm talking
game.
like a great game but with a dog shit soundtrack.
Oh, a great game with a dog shit soundtrack. I can't think of any at all.
I mean, I guess when it
Uh,
comes, like, if it's like, I guess like good games just have good things.
yeah.
I thought about World of Warcraft as well because I
Well,
can't really consider
mm,
there's something in me which can't really consider like MMOs to be part of the best game ever conversation because
Actually,
okay,
like
what do you mean?
if you want to rate multiplayer games in this equation, I think the best multiplayer game in this case has to be the one with the best community.
mm.
Because the community is what makes the multiplayer game worth it, you know?
I actually didn't play many of those growing up. Like well, I don't know. It's not an MMORPG, but it is an online game. Most of my online gaming experience is Roblox. So, you know, that's interesting to say the least.
Uh,
Uh,
but that, like a community though, like how can you factor that being a part of the game if the game like how the game like
that's not
breeds a
like the
certain
makeup of
type of
the
player,
game itself. Yeah.
Okay,
but
take for
it can
example.
influence the type of player that plays it though
Guys,
in
Okay,
mentality. So it does. So they
The
are
best
linked.
MMO is obviously Sword Art Online. I mean, come on, guys.
I mean, I'm just thinking like this, yeah? Like, take for example Super Mario Maker 2. Yes, it's not a multiplayer game, but, you know, it has an online community, and you will only ever be able to enjoy Super Mario Maker 2 based on how good the levels are made in Super Mario Maker 2.
But then when there's
Hence,
no more
you know,
levels being made anymore, I mean it
Well,
loses like
I've
over
heard
time, you
that
can't really call it
the
best
Final
game ever.
Fantasy 14 communities. Yeah. I hear the
yeah,
Final
remember
Fantasy
when they
14
bought all
community
the
is pretty
housing?
good. they all
I
came
like how Fifty
together
was saying about the
and
housing
stood
community thing.
when they all
That's
came and stood
funny.
together when what's his name died, Berserk guy.
Kentaro Miura,
Miura,
rest in peace.
rest in
Yeah,
peace.
they were like
Yeah.
in many different servers of the game. They all like
Mm.
did a stand of solidarity, I guess. So
Yeah.
I don't
Or
know.
take, for example, like League of Legends. Garbage fan, like it's a garbage community. Don't play League of Legends, kids.
Yeah, it's also kind of insular because they're always making. Well, I suppose this is every community, but you know when a community sort of breeds memes based off of the game, and then you feel like you don't really get everything, so you don't even try to sort of get in at all, because just
I
like,
mean, isn't that the same with
everyone here
anime?
is
Like
making all these
anime makes
inside
up memes.
jokes. Yeah, true. To be honest,
But
I'm kind of like that with everything. Like whenever a new meme surfaces, I'm just like, okay. Like with JoJo, I'm like, okay. Or with any anime for that matter.
but
To be
the reason,
honest, I
yeah.
just don't even engage with communities and fandoms that often. So, which we'll say for the fandoms podcast. But
Yeah.
mm,
But the reason I brought up MMOs is because, like, with World of Warcraft, which I consider like one of my favorite games, but I consider it one of my favorite games based on the time period I played it in, because there are parts of World of Warcraft that clearly I feel not as good as the other parts, like Burning Crusade versus Warlords of Draenor, or Wrath of the Lich King versus Warlords of Draenor, even Cataclysm. And like this sort of variation in quality, the longer it goes on, like it prevents me from calling it like the best game ever, because like
mm,
overall, as time goes on, like the variation in quality, like overall, it's not something I'd say is the best game ever. Like something which has a beginning, middle, and end defined, like Dragon Quest VIII, Final Fantasy X, whatever, any JRPG. Like that's, I feel like I could more comfortably call one of those the best game ever, because they have.
wait,
Uh,
Final Fantasy X.
I mean, that's just an example of a JRPG. Final Fantasy X is great. I
mm,
wouldn't complain if you call it best game ever, but like finite
mm.
games have a sense of completeness, which I think is important when you're calling something a best game ever.
Yeah, I guess it has to be a complete game.
And that's why Metal Gear Solid 5 sucks, because it's just not finished. So, know. And
No,
it's
but
never
like,
going to
can't
be
you just
finished.
say for something like World of Warcraft, and in a certain time period, it's one of the best games ever?
Mm. Well, I mean,
But yeah, only in a certain
there'll
time period.
always
It's not
be
like a
something
definite
that
thing.
tops it eventually, you know? Um, uh, so I don't like it's gonna be relative to the time it came out, of course. Uh, well, not always, because a majority of the Kingdom Hearts fan base is convinced to this day that Kingdom Hearts 2 is still the best game. Uh,
But it is. That's like, I think everyone just
mm,
agrees on that.
mm, I like how
Oh, are you
Sora
gonna say like
controls. I like how
Raindrop
Sora
Twisting
controls
or
in that game.
something?
One, I'm not gonna say that Kingdom Hearts 3 is the best game. I think if Sora controlled like how he does in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, then yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 would for sure be the best game because Kingdom Hearts 2's environmental design, like no one can look at that and say that's good. Like you have all these platforming abilities for no reason because it's so flat.
But wait
Like
a second,
it's
I thought you say you hadn't played 3.
No, I haven't played 3. I'm saying that like if 3 had Kingdom Hearts 2's controls, because one of the things I hear like professional players describe about Kingdom Hearts 2 is how the controls aren't as tight. Sora's very floaty. Like they're trying to sort of because it's not the team that made like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, it's the Osaka team. The team
Yeah.
that made
Birth
Birth
by
by
Sleep
Sleep.
and
Yeah. So they're
Raindrop Twisting.
trying to sort of get back to the sort of original design mentality of like Kingdom Hearts 2 in particular, but there's some things loose here and there. And I think if Kingdom Hearts, if that's true, because again, I'm speaking from what I heard from someone else. I've never played the game. If that's true, then Kingdom Hearts 3 would for sure be better than Kingdom Hearts 2 if it just had two's controls, like its physics, because yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts 2's environments are so flat and boring.
Yeah,
What
Like
but
is
the
your
game
favorite
is
Kingdom Hearts
different.
game?
my favorite Kingdom Hearts game?
Yeah, what is it?
Well, the one that I play the most so far is Kingdom Hearts 2 because I'm still trying to beat all the data battles. Uh, I don't know if you guys remember, but like a few weeks ago in the comments, not in the comments, in the server, I jumped in and said, "Guys, I beat Lexius because, I actually didn't know how I'm supposed to fight him until I watched Best Guy Ever's review of Kingdom Hearts 3 and it said, "Oh, if you block him and pick up his weapon, you actually get some of his power." And I was like, "What? I didn't even know you could do that." So I just went in and dedicated like the next 2 weeks to trying to beat him. And then I finally did. Uh but my favorite, it's probably tied between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I haven't played 3. I haven't played, zero point 0.2. I have played Birth by Sleep, and I don't like Birth by Sleep. Uh, I well, I haven't played Dream Drop Distance, but I haven't heard good things about it, and I
Well,
just
yeah,
don't
then
like
by
it.
default,
I don't
then
like its story.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is
So
the best game. Like the best, like Kingdom Hearts game.
it's the best controlling, I would say. But the thing is, a lot of the abilities they give you, you just can't use them unless, except for like in Cave of Remembrance. That's like the only place you can make use of them. So, eh. But yeah, what about you guys? What's your favorite Kiko
In
favorite
Kingdom
Kingdom Hearts game?
Hearts.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I haven't played two. I've only really played like one and two. I've only played one and two, and a bit of Rechain. So I haven't played two in like more than a decade. So I can't say at the moment.
I mean, it's
Okay.
probably two. Let's be real.
Well, I
Actually,
mean,
speaking
uh,
of Kingdom Hearts right now, did you know that the Square Enix presents is going to come out in half an hour?
oh
Yes.
yeah, that is happening. A lot
Yeah,
of people, I've
I know.
seen people tweeting
I
about
have the
how they're
cat.
expecting Kingdom Hearts
It's not.
there, and I'm just like,
Well, it's not half an hour. It's about 16 and a half minutes. They're gonna start the stream. I have it open. Twitch.tv/Square Enix. Maybe at this conference they will announce the next best game ever. You never know.
Oh, it might be
possibly
what's a good Square Enix
Final Fantasy
franchise?
VII Remake Part 2, guys.
Someone just mentioned Chrono Trigger remake.
You know
Huh.
what? I'd be so down for that. I'd be so down for that.
I actually haven't played Chrono Trigger. And I
I mean,
should
I've
because the
played
main
a bit of it
character looks like
before.
Red Goku.
I mean, she's cool. Like, I like it. I like the story and the whole time travel shtick. Like, yes, can I have a remake? But like, just keep the cutscenes as they are. They're beautiful. Like,
Hmm.
but then again, the pixel art's kind of good. Do I really want to trade that in for garbage 3DS AAA models?
If they released a Dragon
No.
Quest VIII remake or Final Fantasy VIII remake, I'd be totally down.
They're not gonna release a Final Fantasy VII 8 remake until 7's finished. Actually, don't you have like the remastered? Go have fun with that or something.
Seven is okay. Is Seven's remake ever actually going to be finished though? Like
Yeah, it will.
actually.
Yes. Yeah, it will.
It's
It
like
will.
a multiple part project, but it will be finished. Because after that, Nomura wants to go back on doing Toei 2, I guess.
Mhm. Oh, actually earlier in the podcast, we talked about the changes they're making to Kingdom Hearts. And I just it's interesting because a lot of people kind of blame Nomura for it, but I learned recently that Nomura actually wanted to keep the original vision, and it was actually the original director of Final Fantasy VII who told him to start making changes. So, you know, maybe stop blaming Nomura for everything. Final Fantasy VII fans.
I
You
mean,
know,
I think the biggest problem right now is that
I
Square Enix
understand
is
why one
blaming
would.
everything on
I am a Kingdom
Nomura.
Hearts fan, but you know,
Yeah, but doesn't it feel like Square Enix is banking everything on Nomura? Like, who else
well,
do they have?
he didn't even know he was going to be the director until the game was announced.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
which is just like, what the fuck? How do you, how do you do that? Why do you do that? That's not okay. And then, like, that doesn't seem like an okay thing to do.
Actually, is there anything I'm hyped about with Square Enix?
It's kind
Let's
of like
see.
with Smash Brothers, where they didn't like, because I feel like if they had asked Sakurai about Brawl before they announced it, Sakurai probably would have said no. But then they announced it first, and then they asked him, and he was like, fuck
Yeah,
it.
it's probably like
Uh,
that.
fuck it. Everyone is going to be expecting me to be on this fucking game, so I might as well
Actually,
jump on it.
speaking of Sakurai, I'd argue that Smash Bros. Ultimate is up there as one of the best games ever. Like, come on.
But Smash Brothers is a
Hmm.
combination of games, kind
No,
of.
it's a fighting
But
game.
it is indeed a fighting game.
Okay, it's a party game, an arena fighter
No, it's a
party.
fighting game. Okay,
What?
here how I
Well,
would say
if
this.
we
It is
take into
a
consideration
fighting
the
party game.
authorial intent of Smash Brothers, because authorial intent
May I
matters,
present you Death of
it
the Author?
is a party game,
Your
and
whole argument is being dismantled.
you're playing it wrong. So therefore, we're going to incorporate the tripping mechanic to make sure you guys are playing it right.
Um, I
That's
do
what
like it as
happened.
a party game.
That's what happened. Nah, it's a fighting game. I mean, you're literally fighting. It's a fighting
Well,
game.
even as a party game, I'd say Smash Bros. Ultimate is up there. Like, come on, like 80 characters from beloved franchise like Fire Emblem, and Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem, and Mario.
But 80 characters, like the balancing, like how can it be called the best game ever if the balancing is whack? Like
You
Well,
gotta put
not as
bass in
bad as
there.
Smash
I
4.
will be a very happy boy if they put like a bass skin on Mega Man. That would be awesome.
They do have the base colors for Mega Man, though. Like, the
No,
red and pink version.
yeah, but like an actual
Oh,
like it's
like an Echo
actually
Fighter? Yeah, I guess
yeah,
that'd
like
be
an
pretty
Echo
cool.
Fighter. That'd be cool. And Proto Man.
Yeah, like,
Is
as
Smash Ultimate better than Marvel vs. Capcom 2?
oh, that's tough. That's tough.
Or Street Fighter 2? Or
I
any of
mean,
these beloved fighting? I don't know.
I'd
Dragon Ball
say
Fighter
the
Z? I
best
don't fucking
Street
know.
Fighter game is definitely Street Fighter 3 Alpha. Like, it's so fast, but at the same time, like, yeah, like it feels weighty and punchy as well.
Hmm.
Actually,
I played Marvel
what is the
vs.
best
Capcom
fighting
2,
game
and that
you
was an
think of?
okay time. But I played it on my tablet, which don't play it like that.
Yeah, but like,
Because
what are the best fighting games you can think of?
I can't really think of that many because I don't really play fighting games.
I mean I don't play them,
Uh,
but what comes to mind, Street Fighter
Street
3
Fighter
Third
2
Strike,
Turbo,
um
Mortal Kombat, the original. Uh, I don't know, Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Melee.
King of Fighters,
Oh yeah, what's that Sega Saturn game?
Virtual Fighter.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that considered good? I don't fucking know. I just know a lot of people played it.
Well, it's the first 3D fighter.
Oh yeah,
That's
that
it.
would explain why it left an impression. Wait, does Mortal
Mm,
Kombat not count? Its games are kind of,
no,
its
it's a fighting
graphics are
game.
kind of 3D-ish.
No,
You
Mortal
know,
Kombat is a fighting game, like a traditional fight. No, the thing is with Mortal Kombat is that it's just like it's just rendered to look like 3D, like kind of like Donkey Kong Country.
yeah, yeah. Okay. To be honest, in terms of fighting games, I really couldn't say because Actually, in terms of gaming genres in general, I couldn't say what's the best game because
Okay, then
interestingly
what's the
enough,
best
I
gaming
don't play
genre?
that many games in any within specific genres. Like with platformers, like I've mainly played just Sonic. I played Mario maybe once. Like I used to own Super Mario 2, New Super Mario Bros. 2 on 3DS. Uh, and then with like shooters, I don't know, does Metal Gear count as a shooter? I don't think it does. It's a stealth game.
Uh,
I guess MGS5 kind of counts because it's designed in a way where if you want to go in guns blazing, you can. So,
hmm,
so yeah, in terms of specific genres, I couldn't really say because I haven't played a variety of games within genres. Uh, but Mickey Mouse Castle of Illusions remake is the best platformer. No, not really.
I have not played that.
It's actually like I've only played the demo. I was kind of joking when I said that, but I really like it. It's a remake of a Genesis game, uh, like 16-bit Mickey Mouse game. It's pretty good. The graphics are also pretty good. I like the presentation. I love the fact that the characters move and animate like they're almost as expressive as they would be in a traditional 2D Mickey Mouse cartoon. Um, and holy shit, like when I look at Mickey's model in that game, I'm kind of just like, but why doesn't Mickey's model in Kingdom Hearts 3 look like this? Because the model in that the way it moves, like the face, like one of the biggest problems with how they animate Mickey in particular in Kingdom Hearts is that his face doesn't change. It's always smiling. I mean, sometimes it'll change, but almost all the time it's always smiling, and the only way you can tell what his expression is meant to be is through his eyes. Whereas, like in the Castle of Illusions game, it's you know his face actually moves. So I'm kind of just like, yeah, they need to get that model and use it, because it's a great model. Best model ever, even. It's the only Mickey Mouse game I've ever played. Uh, but people recommend like Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2. I don't know if you guys have played those games.
yeah, I played it on the Wii. It was fun.
Mm. Yeah, I want to play that. Uh, it is one of those games where you actually have to try to get the good ending, and I'm such a casual player. In fact, that's another thing for me that makes a game the best game ever is you know, if it accounts for casual players and hardcore players, because I am definitely not a hardcore player. And I think I might have mentioned this a few podcasts before, but if a game gives me shit, eventually I kind of just turn it off and stop playing. 'Cause-
Hmm.
which was basically,
But through overcoming like a challenge, you like playing Devil May Cry games on like hard mode or even SMT games on hard mode. Like I think that draws out like in more latent qualities of a game, whether good or bad.
mm.
But yeah, if a game's link qualities are good game qualities, are brought out through like sort of what you'd call annoyances or whatever, then that gives it more credence to being the
Yeah.
best game ever.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily like random bullshit where the game feels unfair. It's like it's more like the difficulty is authentic. Like it is actually genuine difficulty and not bullshit. It's just that I don't want to deal with it. So, I mean, eventually I come back and I do beat it. Like, like I said, it took me a long time to actually beat Lexius's data battle in Kingdom Hearts 2, but eventually I did
Actually,
beat it.
guys, actually,
Um,
by that logic, would you ever consider the Dark Souls games to be the best game ever?
I haven't played
uh,
any Soulsborne games as they call it, so I have no say in that.
I have not played
I
any
played
Dark
like
Souls, and I don't
the
think I ever
first
will
one,
because the difficulty would
and
turn me off. so
I
much.
mean, I played the first one and I managed to get far up to like the first bonfire, I think. And I was like,
Mm,
you know what? Like, I guess this is a bit difficult, but I just don't find it fun.
yeah,
Like, for some reason, I don't find it fun at all. Like, not because of the difficulty. Like, I don't know. I just didn't find that fun. And
might have been maybe its aesthetics didn't appeal to you, or the
yeah, I
sort of
guess
control
so. Oh,
scheme.
you know what I consider one of the best games ever? Near Automata. Not even joking.
That ass really pulls it to a from like a
I
5
wouldn't
to a
put it that
10.
level, but it is a good game.
Mm.
Like probably like a cliche choice. Actually, speaking of best games ever, did you know 2017 is such a fucking banger year? Like think about it. You got Sonic Mania, you got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you got Mario Odyssey, you got Nier Automata,
This
you got
this just sounds like a
oh,
banger year for Nintendo. Like
no, it's just not just Nintendo because also Cuphead came out. What else? What else?
Well, yeah,
2017.
are you considering initial release dates in Japan or just anywhere?
all of these games were
No,
on
they're
the
all
Switch, so
worldwide release.
Well, no,
mm.
because for example, like Yakuza 0 was in 2017, but it was in at least in Japan in 2015.
Well, I guess that counts.
Yeah, so 2017 also had
Yeah.
Tales of Berseria, I
Horizon
think,
Zero Dawn,
2017. Gravity Rush
Destiny
2,
2,
2017.
Mm.
Neo. Ah, my favorite game.
Sonic
Mario plus
Forces, that was a
Rabbids
really great
Kingdom
game.
Battle. Ah, Fortnite. Fortnite came in
Oh my god,
2016.
no. No, no.
Yeah, the point is like 2017 is such a banger year.
Yeah, I realized like at the beginning, I was like, oh,
Is
this year's like
is
at least in
20
Europe and North America.
is 2017 better than like the release year of the PS2? Because
Oh, that's the year
that's generally
2001, wasn't
considered
it?
Well,
to be
no, because release year PS2 was 2000s, but 2001 was the real banger with Jack One, Metal Gear Solid 2, and a bunch of others I can't remember off the top
Well,
of my head.
GTA
yeah, yeah.
3, Halo Combat Evolved, Melee, Final Fantasy
Yeah,
X.
Wait,
Halo,
Yeah.
was San Andreas on PS2 or was that
Final Fantasy
PSP?
10. Yep, San
No,
Andreas is
3. Three's
PS2.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, San
So is
Andreas
3.
is PS2? Fucking hell. That
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
game's
Sonic
graphics.
Adventure 2, Twisted Metal Black.
yeah, that year's
Um,
packed.
Mm, mm.
yeah. Okay, that was a banger year.
Banger
Yeah.
years.
The Game FAQ's best year ever contest 2001 came in second place to 1998.
That's
I
a thing
Well,
predicted.
that they
people
should actually
say,
start doing year of the decade when it comes to games. Like
actually,
which year within the
2011,
decade had the best releases. They should do that.
2011 has banger releases. Skyrim, Batman Arkham City, Portal 2, Modern Warfare 3, which people consider as like the best Call of Duty game. The first Dark Souls, LA Noire, Saints Row the Third,
Well,
Minecraft.
I don't know if LA Noire is
Yep,
worth
Minecraft.
like LA Noire is a good game, but I don't know if it's
Oh,
worth
The
listing
Binding
up
of
there.
Isaac. What else? Ooh, Terraria, Sonic Generations. Okay, 2011 is the best game, guys.
2D
Let's wrap it up.
Minecraft. Wait, 2D Minecraft. Yeah,
Yeah,
2D
Terraria,
Minecraft.
Minecraft. Like I think the full version of Minecraft came out because I remember Minecraft
Yep, November
was like since
18th, 2011. Skyrim was
yeah.
11, 11, 11, and Notch wanted to release it on the same day, but then Minecraft was delayed by 1 week. I remember. I
Catherine,
remember.
Catherine. Uh,
Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3.
it's funny that you mentioned Catherine. Like that's one of those games that I've been interested in playing, but then I was like, can my tiny brain actually handle how you're supposed to play that game? Or
From what I
would I
played,
just
no, it's not
play it
that
on the
hard.
easy? I'd probably just play it on the easy mode.
Yeah, but like even if you play it on easy mode, it's not that like difficult. Like the concept is easy to understand. Like you just want to push blocks till you reach the top and all that. Like it's pretty fun.
Mm. Well, I'd get. There's a new version out, right?
Yeah, Catherine full
The
body.
Q Catherine. The Q Catherine. with
You know what's shit though? Like,
the trap.
why does Steam only get Catherine Classic? Why don't give us full body?
I don't know. That
But yeah,
happens a lot.
tangent aside, but
Maybe
like
it's a
I'd say
console exclusive.
2001, 2011, and 2017 best games, best best
1998.
years.
1998, Ocarina of
1998.
Time, and Metal Gear Solid.
1998 had Metal Gear
This was the
Solid
year I was
1,
born,
Sonic
so
Adventure 1. Uh, Actually, that's all I can think of.
I'm so fucking
Final
tempted to
Fantasy
say this is the
Tactics.
year of overratedness.
Well,
So
Sonic
tempted.
Adventure 1 technically came out in 97 in Japan, and then it came out
No,
in
it's 98.
98.
No, it's
Wait, is it?
98 in Japan as well.
Is it because it came out a year earlier in one of the two? I can't remember.
As far as I know, not for Sonic Adventure. In fact, I don't know any Sonic games that's ever got a delayed release.
I'll have to double check on that one. But yeah, that came out that time. It was good.
But like 1998
Uh,
feels like the year of overratedness. Like Ocarina of Time, I find that overrated. Banjo Kazooie, it's just the first collectathon.
well, I mean, these games are like quite old now. You know, most people who play,
So,
who like kind of, say they're really good. They probably came out when, they probably played them at a time when, what they did was impressive, and the jank of their age wasn't as noticeable compared to now.
I
but
guess
I played
so.
Metal Gear Solid 1 kind of sort of recently, 2015, 16, 14, whatever. And I'm like,
When
this is
MGS1
impressive.
doesn't
Like,
have any,
this is
MGS1 doesn't
impressive. Like,
have
this
any
is a impressive
jank.
game.
Like
I'm
it
looking
doesn't
Yeah,
at
it
really have
2020
any
right
jank.
I was
now,
gonna say,
and
like, jank doesn't apply to every game. Like, Metal Gear Solid, great
Yeah,
example.
yeah. Like MGS1, it aged well. For like the only thing that probably aged
Some people
poorly is the
say it didn't,
graphics.
but
Yeah, I don't really get that because it controls fine. There's no like glitchiness or anything. It plays fine. It plays fine.
okay, so
Uh,
2019 was a shit year. 2020 was an okay-ish year.
what came out in 2020?
Animal Crossing, New Horizons. People say it's not the best
Uh,
Animal Crossing game. The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think I need to explain myself.
what?
Final Fantasy VII Remake. Doom Eternal. I guess people love
well,
that. Ghost of
7 remake
Tsushima.
people love.
La- Last of Us 2 was enjoyable for different reasons. I'm not even really like a big Last of Us fan, but just seeing everyone like lose their shit over it
Oh yeah, of
when it
course.
came out it was a great time. I remember when leaks started coming out towards the release of the game, and everyone's like, "God, Abby's gonna be a trans woman. SJW,
Let's not
politics."
get into that. Let's not get into
Yeah.
that. Do you imagine any game released recently that could be called the best game ever in the future? Because I think Final Fantasy VII Remake will happen, but I don't know about any other games just
You
released
know,
recently
the
that
funny thing is,
are part of the conversation.
As great as Final Fantasy VII Remake is, I don't know. It depends on what it would do after Part One, because I don't know,
Yeah,
like
it depends.
it could be, but I don't really
I want to say
see it
Fall
yet.
Guys is worth being at best game ever. I really like Fall Guys.
Well, I think Kiko was asking the question in terms of like the masses. Like, what do you see the masses calling the best
Well,
game ever?
I can see Doom Eternal and Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, those two
Ghost
come
of
to
Tsushima,
mind.
I don't see too much buzz about that. I think Doom Eternal will go down as like a very good, great game, but not as one of the greatest
Final
video games of
Fantasy
all
VII
time.
Remake, Final Fantasy 15. Uh,
Nope, I don't think so at all. It won't like
Actually, yeah, you're
Wikipedia.
right.
I don't think Wikipedia will never list in the last paragraph of the introduction. Final Fantasy 15. It's considered one of the greatest games of all time. That'll never happen.
Genshin Impact.
True. At
No,
least for
that's
the amount of
it's had
attractive
too much
video game
it's had
characters.
too much
That
controversy around it about border about uh racism or some shit. So for that alone, its reputation has been killed. So there you go. Because
Hmm.
for some reason, people are like these characters. I don't even know. Like these gray characters are clearly meant to be Indian, so why aren't they, or
Yeah, I've
something?
heard something like that. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know. That happens with fiction all the time, where fictional races still have their cultures inspired by actual cultures. It's not an uncommon thing. But that was obviously a joke. The fact that you can have a game like that on mobile, because that's the one that I played,
Yeah,
is
like the
impressive.
yeah. Yeah.
It's very impressive.
One of the
And for
best
that reason and
mobile
that reason
games ever,
alone,
maybe, yeah.
That's
yeah.
not really that high of a feat, if you ask me. But yeah, sure.
Mm. Well, I mean, a lot of like console games have been, like the Telltale games have been ported to mobile. Uh,
True.
and it's like, I guess it's not as difficult
I guess
as
it's the
people
best
assumed it
free
to be.
game. I guess it's the first best free to play to ever be made.
Mm, mm. Unless you count like endless runners. Uh, I don't know. I don't really know what else. Mass Effect Andromeda? I don't fucking know.
No.
No, people didn't like that though.
Nobody liked it? I thought people liked it.
Some people do, some people no.
I don't know. One of the Spider-Man games,
Oh, you mean
Miles,
Miles
Mor-
Morales?
Miles Morales, and
Nah,
the
you're
PS4,
obligated to like that game.
the PS4 one,
PS4
with
one, yeah.
Peter. Uh,
That's just Spider-Man.
yeah,
Actually, yeah,
the
people
original
love
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, people love that game. Uh, and people liked, you know, Miles Morales too. Uh,
I mean,
I mean, how can you
Yuri
not with
Lowenthal
all the
is good
black
as
swagger it has?
Spider-Man.
How can you not like that game when it has the shit? How do you say it again? The, the swagger of a black teen. Uh, I mean, whatever it
Okay.
takes to make you like the game, I guess.
Whatever, however you describe it. Um, we are approaching 2 hours.
Oh
Indeed,
yeah, we
and
are.
the Square Con is about to come up.
Well,
I
it's
guess
it's
we
currently
should.
playing, showing
Oh
Guardians of
shit.
the Galaxy game.
Oh shit. I guess we should close up by mentioning our what we currently consider the best game ever.
All right, let's start with you.
For me, best game ever right now, probably Sonic Unleashed. I really like its setting. Like there's more to it than just the gameplay. I like the
Let me just
whole
remember the Werehog sucks ass, but okay, sure.
multiple different countries, and you get to sort of see all the cultures. I mean, they're obviously inspired by real cultures, but and you get to go and get the different foods of all the countries, and you get to build the friendship with Chip by giving him all the foods and earn the friendship points, which earn, these cute little dialogue interactions. You get to do all these side missions. It's pretty interesting. I like the setting. I like the story. I also like the high stakes of the story because, well, I mean, I suppose all the stakes of the future games are still pretty high, but in Unleashed, it still feels like the characters are taking what's happening around them somewhat seriously. I like the gameplay, kind of. I learned the hard way that upgrading your speed is never a good idea. Just focus entirely on ring energy because if you upgrade your speed, Sonic becomes harder and harder to control. Sonic in modern games generally he's very slippery, uh, so it makes platforming ridiculously hard sometimes. But other than that, yeah, Sonic Unleashed. There you go.
Okay,
Uh,
and you, Kiko?
I have not budged from my opinion of Dragon Quest VIII being the best game ever. I like everything about it, but Mega Man X4, it might be in the running someday.
Wait, unironically.
Okay, so you like generic grindy